Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. We are a pop-up cinema based in London and New York. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Dasha Nekrasova. Dasha is an actor, writer, director, fellow podcaster of the amazing and notorious Red Scare podcast, which I'm a day one Patreon subscriber of. Highly recommended. She is the writer, director, and star of The Scary of 61st, her debut movie, which was our favorite movie of last year. We also released a soundtrack on Deeper Into Movies Records. This is definitely more a conversation than an interview. We know each other a bit, and this is just us talking about movies, Rob Zombie, Paul Schrader, anime, Kirsten Dunst, Dasha's process as an actress, how the pod began, and stuff like that. So this is me talking to Dasha Nekrasova. So, if we start from the beginning, what did you grow up watching? Did you know you wanted to be an actor or in movies as a kid and teenager?
I grew up watching television. My family emigrated to America in the mid 90s. So I grew up watching Friends and Mad About You and a lot of late night television. I was really a big fan of David Letterman growing up, and even Saturday Night Live was such a institution to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I remember having vague ambitions of wanting to be an actress, and as a kid practicing my SNL monologue or fantasizing about going on talk shows and stuff, but it was very disconnected from film, really. And then I started to get into films more as a teenager, just from being an edgelord. I remember the first time I watched Blue Velvet, you know, in high school, getting into horror movies I always really liked because I was always drawn to extremity. And so when I found out that there were incredibly violent movies, House of a Thousand Corpses was huge for me when that came out. I was at 13.
Yeah, I love Rob Zombie. I'm a Rob Zombie defender. I think he's cool.
I'm a massive Rob Zombie fan.
Devil's Rejects was fucking insane. The extremity
Devil's Rejects is amazing. Yeah. Also shot on film. Also, yeah, he's a big influence on my work, I think, somehow, because when I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, I hadn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre yet, you know? So the things that he referenced for me were just really, really, really exciting.
Do you like Lords of Salem? I love that one.
I haven't seen that one. Is that the one about the radio station?
Yeah, it's his kind of chamber mood piece, but it's really subtle, really slow burn, kind of like John Carpenter, The Fog kind of vibes, but I think it's really cool. I
want to see that one, yeah. And he made a Munsters movie that's for children that I also am interested in seeing.
Yeah, for Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm still sad that him and Bret Easton Ellis couldn't get their Charles Manson series off the ground, because there was some other shitty... Someone who already just greenlit a Manson show, and they're like, we're not going to do two Manson shows. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm like, those two together, what a great combination.
I know, but Bret has a tough time in Hollywood, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he's at the zen point now where he just says, I'll take the check. It's fun kind of writing it, and I know it will never ever get made, but
They were going to do a Less Than Zero television show years ago that I auditioned for.
Oh my God.
And
Were you
I
playing
don't think,
were you going for Blair?
yeah, I
Oh, that
was
would have been
auditioning to play
sick.
Blair. And I emailed him because I saw that he was like an executive producer. And he actually wrote back and was like, "Oh, I'm only like really an EP in name. Like I sold the rights a long time ago, and people just churn this stuff out. But I'm very like they don't want me near it because I'm like
Right.
persona non grata almost in Hollywood." But he made the Canyons, yeah.
I think we're releasing the Canyon soundtrack after
Oh,
all this
so
time. Yeah, the
cool!
guy from Broken Social Scene released that. So I was like,
Wow,
part of my Paul
Sweet.
Schrader mission statement to get all his soundtracks out.
That's fantastic. That's such a good idea.
I remember when I first realized Brett is one of the funniest people ever. I was at one of his
Mm-hmm.
book events and he was saying, let's just keep the questions going and we're going to end on we'll know when it's time to end and we'll just feel it. And then people were firing these questions like, what's your favorite cocktail? Because, I read American Psycho and he's like, oh, I like the, Dirty Martini next.
Yeah.
And then he was like, who's my favorite Hills character? And he went on this big riff about the Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone was like, are you aware of this 17th century philosopher who I think you're hugely influenced by? And I'm studying my thesis on him. And he was like, I'm done. And he just fucking walked off. And the host was just left there like,
amazing.
He's going to come back and do like I'll see you outside at signing. And he was just gone. He just completely left.
That's a really good approach to the Q&A. I've also really loved, I did a Q&A at like a college in New York called New School yesterday.
Oh, that's like Kaveh teaches, I think.
Kaveh, exactly. He screened Scary for his students. And then I came and did like a Q&A, but I was so, I was nervous because I don't know what the atmosphere is like on like college campuses nowadays, and I didn't want to be like walking into like a nest of like vipers potentially.
Yeah.
But they were great. They were really engaged and non-combative actually, but I was psyching myself up thinking of that Claire Denis anecdote where they ask her about I think they asked her like why her movies are so like violent towards women or something, and she says like, what the fuck, I'm not a social worker.
Have you seen that amazing James Spader Q&A for Crash where they're talking about nudity?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna misquote it, but he just has they're like, why you nude so much? He's like, because we're fucking. And then it was like,
well said.
Yeah, literally, this is just why. It's funny, on my film notes for you, all I've got is anime, Paul Schrader, and Immoral Tales.
Okay.
That's I usually have a feel of what people are into, but that's literally all I've got for you.
Anime, Paul Schrader, and Immoral Tales.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much, I mean, I'm not crazy into anime actually, even though I know I like present as very weeb coded.
Right.
I do have great reverence for Japanese culture. But I'm really like a Neon Genesis Evangelion fan. And after I watched that, I tried kind of to get into anime. This was like during the pandemic also. But nothing can really hold a candle to that. It's so tough I think NGE is like one of the best works of art ever made.
I haven't seen that. I know everyone says that's like the high watermark for anime period.
I think it's amazing.
Will I understand it? I don't know what my brain is with anime that even...
Yeah. When I started living in New York, sometimes there would be theatrical screenings of anime. That's how I saw like Ghost in the Shell and Akira. And like Ghost in the Shell I would never be able to understand like at home because I'm too low IQ and I would inevitably like go on my phone. Like I feel like a genius when I watch like a movie like that because I'm like, taking in so much data and like reading and like it's so conceptual. But NGE, it's serialized and it's a real like riff on like the very popular Japanese genre of like fighting robots. So it's like playing with those conventions and is a little bit repetitive at first, but then gets really good, and then the finale is yeah, it's everyone can understand it because it's very, very like human.
Is it depressing? I heard it's really sad, which appeals to me.
It's really sad. It's
Okay,
really
good.
it like destroyed me, which is probably why it left such a big impact. But besides that, and then like the main, the main ones, like Perfect Blue and stuff.
That's my favorite.
That's a really great one, yeah.
Did you ever see Legend of Overfiend when you were a teenager? Like the most disgusting, extreme, hentai-inspired anime that was like...
No.
That's my favorite. Well, my favorite gross out one.
No, I liked Sailor Moon a lot. I was a really big Sailor Moon fan when I was a kid, though. So I've always liked it. Like, I've always liked the look and atmosphere of it and have been drawn to it. But in terms of actually watching it, I'm not like as deep into anime as some other people, definitely.
And you're a big Kristen Dunst fan.
I do love Kirsten Dunst, yeah.
What is it about her?
I mean, I think she is the best actress probably of, my/our generation. But I also kind of grew up with her, like in Bring It On and stuff.
Bring It
like
On's a masterpiece. Bring It On is
I love Bring It On.
I put that in like the top tier of teen movies.
And I think she's so talented and cute and something. I don't know. She's like Kate Moss for me, where I'll like never tire of like seeing a photo of her. I always, I met her actually at the SAG Awards, and I was drunk enough to kind of like, because she didn't win a SAG Award or an Oscar for Power of the Dog, because they gave it to that actress from West Side Story, which was obviously a very like political, it was like it felt like Kirsten's year, that she was like, fine, she deserves it so much. She's like, and she's into her range as an actress, like, when she does something like melancholy, like I think she is really like, she's like broken her heart on screen so many times. And I know she's talked about like, struggling with like depression and stuff. And I think it's clear that she has a very like deep and like melancholic personality and I think it's very generous of her to like take on the roles that she does. So I said that I was a big fan of her. And I was with Maddie, who came to the SAG Awards with me, and she asked us if we were lesbians, actually. She was like, "Oh, are you guys like a cool lesbian couple?" And I was like, "No, unfortunately, but we can be if you'd like us to be, whatever you want."
Melancholy is a masterpiece. I think that's Lars von Trier's best movie. And I remember when I was watching it, I thought Kirsten is definitely felt depression. She nails it perfect. It's the best on-screen representation of depression I've seen, where someone's definitely gone for it. The kind of the exhaustion and the kind of depression fog.
And in a real, and it's not boring, it's like, it's
no, it's just like everything's wiped out of her.
When she's like crying and like or her sister is like begging her to come like down to eat. And she's like, "I made you pot roast." And they're like dragging her basically. Yeah. And she sits down and then she like starts eating it and she starts sobbing and she says, "It tastes like ashes."
Yeah. And when everyone's kind of like, "It's being really fucking difficult. Why can't you just power through?" And she's just like, "I just can't. It's complete." Yeah, that was it's a great performance.
And then Marie Antoinette is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Again, another movie that I find myself defending, that I shouldn't have to defend so much.
What? What's not to like?
I guess it's just, now looking back,
it's too good. People think it's too beautiful and atmospheric and fun.
Well, I think it's once you accept that it looks like Barry Lyndon with like a almost music video effect, but the merging completely works for me. I think it's amazing, and the choice of all the new romantic soundtrack, and the in the indie bangers with and then I kind of think like all the kind of new romantics and the goths kind of embraced that kind of aspects of that 18th century aesthetic anyway in the costumes. So I think
absolutely, that like rococo kind of like frivolence, the irreverence of that music is
the kind of age of innocence realness going on with the looks and stuff. I think it's great, but I think that was that kind of that cunty time where it was just time to shit on all the indie auteurs of a time where like, you took a big swing, fuck you. The kind of, wasn't it the same year when the guy who made Donnie Darko came out with Southland Tales and they were like, this is just a fucking mess? And
oh yeah, we were so naive. That is so dumb. But um I'm a big, Sofia Coppola for me, I think is one of the best directors. I think it's misogynistic to say you don't like Marie Antoinette, honestly. I think Sofia Coppola makes films that are truly like feminine and effeminate, in a very like unapologetic way. And she does it very well. I mean, Virgin Suicides is a first feature. A lot of,
incredible
crazy.
vision.
It's almost perfect.
Yeah. That's got such a haunted, creepy feel. That's the real, I think, she came out fully formed.
Yeah.
With that movie. Her complete aesthetic and tone is.
When nepotism works, How
do you feel about Somewhere?
I really like
It's so stoned. Yeah. I love it. It's a great LA movie.
I really like Somewhere. That's the one I probably watch the least because I watch Marie Antoinette and Lost in Translation so much.
I think Lost in Translation is my least favorite. But
I really, really love that one. But I love Japan. That's, I love Japan. Sophia just, the aesthetically, we are very aligned, I think.
Although I do love the fact that she was really mean about Cameron Diaz and cast.
Oh yeah. I
like that there's that there's that real scathing meanness in her films in places, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, because in person she's quite, I don't know. I auditioned for a small part in that last one I didn't see actually with Rashida Jones.
On the Rocks.
Called like On the Rocks, yeah. And I met her very briefly and she was very demure and like she seemed very introverted and like sweet.
Yeah, I met her briefly at the film festival and tried to talk to her about Square Pusher because Square Pusher was in the Lost in Translation. And she was just like, yeah, Warp Records, cool, bye. And I was like, okay. But
I think I saw her at Film Forum at a screening of that documentary about Stalin's funeral that came out. And she like walked out of it because why would you sit through the whole thing? But I swear it was her, but she had a mask on. Sorry, non-anecdote.
When did you start the podcast and what was did you have a concept going in of what you wanted the show to be?
Sort of. I had known Anna on Twitter for a long time, and we were both preoccupied with a lot of the same things at the time around the 2016 election. I felt like Anna and I were really talking about like liberal feminism in a way that not a lot of other people were. So when I met her, when I moved to New York, obviously this was like peak kind of like come town Chapo era. So it seemed like we really got in at the right time. And the concept was sort of, this was before everyone had podcasts. So we were like, let's do a podcast where we're girls and we talk about, also being Russian American, I think really kind of bonded us like in perspective. And so we just, we knew we would talk about like current events that mainly pertain sort of to women's issues. And that was the basic idea. But it was funny when we started it, there was, or when it started, because it started to become successful sort of quickly. I think because we were talking about very New York centric things at first, and New York obviously is like where media gets made, so it was like it, and then the Sailor Socialism thing happened, which gave me a big audience that I like parlayed into the pod as well. And we both already had our respective sort of followings on social media. But I remember my rep sort of being like, which one, like, you guys need to try to like package this a little more and make it a little like they really didn't like the logo of the woman's back with the tramp stamp
yeah.
tattoo. They were like, you should have your faces on your like podcast image, and like you should make it clear like this Anna's this one and like Dasha's this one. And I think we've found that through the years, which was better than like locking ourselves into, you know, some category.
Did you initially start on Patreon? And
I think the first one we did was free, or maybe we did a couple for free, and then started doing the alternating Patreon free.
And how are people finding out about it? Just through your respective social media presences and stuff?
Yeah, and word of mouth. I think during obviously like during COVID, we had a big boost because people were really looking for that kind of like parasocial attachment to fill like a void in their life. Podcasts, I think in general, were doing very well. I don't know. People find out about it, through our personalities and through word of mouth, because I know we are both probably like shadow banned, so we're definitely not being algorithmically boosted into anyone's feed. But I don't know. It's interesting. Like when I meet people, when people reach out to me about the pod, there's usually some incident I find where like them or someone close to them had been like either unjustly canceled, or like a victim of some like social justice mob. Like people have a point, I think, where they come to Red Scare because they feel so like betrayed and like bewildered by the culture. And then usually they'll express some form of like gratitude to me or Anna for like speaking truths that other people can't say, you know.
I'm obsessed with the Loveline episodes. I think Loveline episode 2 is your greatest moment. That's my favorite pod. That pod was wild.
Thank you. I don't remember that. We've done quite a few love lines, but I love doing them.
Yeah, the second one was just really dirty and outrageous and crazy, and all the questions were so good. But the new one was insane. The new one, when
the last one was crazy because we figured out how to let people call in.
Oh, that was so exciting. That almost had like a late night talk radio kind of vibe to it, which is really exciting.
We need to figure out, we need like a producer, because we don't have a producer is the thing. I was talking to Kaveh last night about the season 4 of his show, where there's like a storyline about how he tries to go on these podcasts and he kind of asked to come on Red Scare. And I was like, no, I don't think our audience is really going to like it. But he was listing all the other podcasts he went on, and I was like, or tried to get on, and I was like, well, all those podcasts have producers. Like, we just don't. Everything's a little harder for us to do, because it's just the two of us trying to like figure it out, which is a benefit and a curse in some ways. But it would be, if we did something like that, it would be nice to have someone like screen the calls, like on Frasier or something.
Yeah, like Call of 5 You're Live, but yeah, to cut out all the.
Exactly, because otherwise it'd just be like mad, heavy breathing and like God knows what.
I mean to text you every time I hear this. In the podcast, when you shout, take a fucking kickboxing class, I always think that's hilarious, but I don't get the reference. What is that?
Oh, I think we were talking, that was a reference to something Jen Psaki said. I forget about some legislation that like the Democrats had some loss with legislation. And she was like, she gave this press conference where she said like, have a margarita, take a kickboxing class, like do do some self-care and like get back out there because this fight isn't over. If I'm remembering correctly, though, that was
That
a
makes
reference,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
And I also love anytime when Anna says something really outrageous and you have to say Anna. That's when you know it's a really good
Anna.
app when she
Yeah.
when you're shocked, that's always a good one.
Well, there was, I mean, at least when I was like shooting Succession, um, that era of the pod, I feel like there is this like palpable kind of tension where I'm like really trying not to say too much.
Yes.
And Anna had her baby, so she was, hormonal and really had nothing to lose. And there's this like, we've never ever fought. Like I can't imagine what we would ever fight about. Even we have such a good working relationship, but I love her so much. But that's an interesting part of the show too. I remember she was like going in on Adam McKay, and I was just like, oh, I was like, no, I haven't seen The Big Short.
I was in a restaurant recently. I almost choked on my food when she said that Billie Eilish dresses like Cedric the Entertainer at a barbecue.
That was such a good
Genius.
one.
I think
know
that one, and when, not to keep on quoting your pod back to you,
no,
but
it's okay.
Oh my God, Hasbulla as Boss Baby.
Wow,
that's an image I can't shake. That needs to happen. Even if they just do some deep fakes, I'd be totally here for that. It's the perfect match.
I'm sure it's haram.
Yes.
In some way, so he wouldn't be able to act in it. But it's something that we need to see at least.
Yeah, his video. Have you ever seen his video where he's making coffee and he needs to stand on the chair to reach the counter? It's
Probably.
so adorable.
I've seen so many of his videos. I love him.
Yeah, he's adorable. That video where he's doing the interview and have you seen the one where he blows into the whistle just to puncture that guy's eardrum when he?
Oh yeah, he blows into
his mic,
the lav mic.
Yeah, because the guy's got the sound guy's got the headphones.
So nod, and his laugh, his devilish little laugh. Things can't be so bad if Hasbulla is out there.
I follow his account and like a few dog accounts, and that's my.
I don't think he had. I don't know if he has an account.
He's got an official account. He goes live on it.
He does.
He does. I'll send you
it. Please send me that information because I follow like 20 Hasbulla like fan accounts.
No, I follow a few, but there's one where he's going live and he's like driving.
Okay, good.
Driving at night and stuff. It's a real vibe.
Because I saw a story recently where he got in trouble for posting on Instagram that like women are so mysterious. It's like you're not supposed to hit them, but if you don't, then they don't fall in line or something. He said something really like Muslim about gender relations. I got some backlash, and I was like, I didn't even know he was speaking his mind.
Yeah, he's out there on live.
Following him the whole time. Yeah.
So, how did you feel stepping into Succession? Did you have any imposter syndrome or going to something of that scale? I mean, you deserve to be there, but I'm just wondering, how did you feel from going from like indies and stuff to something as big as that?
I felt incredibly lucky, but almost like it didn't really hit me until I wrapped the last season, really, where I was like, wow, you're going to be on, Succession, because I was such a fan of the show. And then when I started working on it, it was like, I rewatched the two prior seasons like in succession. And then so my first day on set, it really felt just like a dream. And I was like, and Kendall's here and Nick and cousin Greg is here. And like there was something about it that just felt like I knew the world and the tone of the show so well that any anxiety I had was sort of sublimated. And I did a movie directed by Alice Englert over the summer, who I worked with as an actress years ago on this television show. And I remember talking to her about acting back then. And she's Jane Campion's daughter. So this
is the one you shot in New Zealand?
Exactly. Yeah. So it makes sense that she would have this like literally dreamier approach. But she said, yeah, she was like, for me, acting is like the way that you behave in a dream where the givens are, you're not like, you take things for granted in your dreams as reality. And so when you treat acting as if like you're just kind of dreaming, you find yourself like acting naturally.
That's
Because
beautiful
you're
advice.
always acting naturally in your dreams. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in my friend Mike Lee's son cast me. We're friends, and he put me in the new Radiohead band. You know the Smile, the new band from the Tom from Radiohead.
Yeah.
He put me in their video as this biker, and I had this whole Hell's Angel look, and I went for a costume fitting, and then we went on set, and it was almost like this random group. He wanted to be like found footage from, say, the Woodstock kind of Manson era, where it was this weird commune with this random group of people all together, and it was all 16mm footage, and it's meant to look like documentary footage, found documentary footage. And I was so fucking scared I was gonna blow a take or ruin it. I couldn't relax. And then they'd say like, "Hey, just walk across the campfield," and I'm like, "When you say walk, what do you?"
Yeah,
and I was
you're
like,
overthinking it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Dude, just walk, just fucking own it." And then I was like, then I kind of got a lot of a method idea in my head of like, yeah, I'm a Hell's Angel and I've left the gang and now I'm in this random commune, and I kind of got into it, but just doing the most natural thing where they were like, they gave me this big like huge jug of like beer, and they were like, you got to chug this every so often, and then I'm like, how many chugs are we talking here? Like every 5 seconds, every 10?
Yeah,
I could not get out of my head.
Yeah, well, yeah, they say, I've heard like acting teachers and stuff say that the hardest thing to do is to like act naturally or as yourself, because I'm sure, you know how to drink a beer.
Yeah.
But something about doing it on stage or in front of a camera.
Yeah, like am I going to over chug? What's the kind of natural level? And if they were just going to shoot it for 30 seconds, and I was like, how many chugs should I put in this 30 second? I was like, I'm just wasting everyone's fucking time. I'm sorry, guys. But
I learned a lot about directing from acting, really, because I had done so many indies and like projects even where like there wasn't like a script supervisor, so I had to sort of keep mental track of things and be mindful of the way that they would like cut together in the end. And it's starting as an actress, it really, I think, gave me a lot of strength as a director, because I had experience on sets, and I had like the perspective. I knew how to work with actors also because I had been one.
And I wanted to go back when you're talking about the parasocial relationship you have from being a podcaster. Which I'm finding so funny now when people meet me at the screenings and they're like, "Hey, Steven," and I'm like, "How the fuck do you know my name?" And then I'm like, because I announce it on the podcast every time, right. or minor details of my life when people know like I'm obsessed with root beer or Brian De Palma and all these weird details that you don't realize that you're putting out there in public.
Yeah, I was wondering. Tell me about it.
Yeah. But then I was thinking, when I was listening to your pod with Charlie XCX, where she was saying she was nervous about meeting you or talking to you because of slightly mean girl persona you have on the pod. But I was wondering, long tangent, but then I was thinking, I know Larry David always says that he enjoys, from the persona he has on Curb, people are nervous to talk to him because they always think, shit, am I going to become the selfie guy in the show? Or am I going to become the long handshake guy? Well, yeah, I was wondering, how is your relationship with people meeting you, or how they expect you to be, or...
I do think, Anna and I have unearned kind of like mean girl reputations, and we're both actually pretty nice and almost like demure and like self-effacing people.
Agreed, yes.
In real life. I mean, I do get approached by almost every day. Like someone in New York probably will come up to me And usually the exchanges are really nice. It's usually like a girl or like a gay guy, occasionally a straight guy, but and they just say like, "Oh, I love the pod. Like, I think what you do is great," and that's nice. There's an in one of Norm Macdonald's books, he has like a little essay about fame, that I think he says it so he talks about it so well, the way that people like um when they see a famous person or a person that they have like some attachment to, it's almost like finding like a treasure for them.
Yes.
And how he tries in that moment just to I think, yeah, he talks about it with a lot of grace of just like, this person is going to have this limited interaction with you and just try and make it as like pleasant and humane for them as possible. Because you don't, the alternative, I remember talking about it actually with Nick Braun because he gets recognized all the time because he's, cousin Greg and he's like 6'5" or whatever. He's
Yeah.
huge. And so like people are always like yelling like Greg the Egg at him and stuff. And I was like, God, like how do you deal with that? Like it seems I feel so like beleaguered by it and it doesn't even happen that much. And he was like, you just don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You have to kind of make the best of it and have the grace to like accept it well.
Yeah.
So it's really just about like the mental, disposition. And I mean, I think I'm a little willfully naive too. Like sometimes I'll like be somewhere and someone will be like, "Oh, that person totally knew who you were," and I would actually go crazy if I like behaved and lived as if like everyone was had this a priori knowledge of me. So I instead prefer to be like willfully kind of like, nope, yeah.
Rob Zombie said something really cool that he said he's nice to every fan because he remembers being a total geek and going to all the horror conventions in the 80s and going to the booths and queuing up for hours. And he says, I remember everyone who was nice to me and everyone who was a dick to me. And you'll forget about it, but they'll go away and they'll totally remember.
Yeah,
like Rob was a cool guy and have the moment, but
they'll have an impression of you, that stays with them, so you might as well try and make it a good one.
Carvey said something really nice that Alison Anders just always asks what their name is and shakes their hand.
I try to do that as well.
I'm stealing that, yeah.
And then I usually like sheepishly will also say like I'm Dasha, and they say haha we know. And that's a good way to blow through the interaction. But yeah, it's nice to ask people their name. Sometimes I'll even ask like occasionally I get stopped by like sort of young-ish like Asian women, and on occasion I've been like, what, like, well, they're like, I'm in med school. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, I am like genuinely interested, in like how people's lives intersect and like who the real demographics of the pod are.
Yeah, I always say like, oh, crazy, listen to the pod. How did you hear about it or whatever? And then I sound like I'm just trying to like, I'm genuinely curious. I'm not like, tell me more about me.
Right.
I am genuinely like, how the fuck did you hear about this? I'm always amazed when anyone
And what's your favorite part?
Yeah. Ever said anything amusing recently that you may want to recount?
Yeah. Are you an Anna or a Dasha kind of girl?
I remember Tao Lin. Do you know the author Tao Lin?
Yeah.
I remember him saying something really interesting to me that he was talking about when he came over for, I think Richard Yates was his first book that really blew up. And he just said, fame is a video game. And I'm just trying to get to the highest level I can. And his whole goal was just to not have to shoplift and sell batteries on eBay and just be able to write all day, which is kind of true.
That's true. But I would say I'm so annoyed by when like someone like Sally Rooney talks about like the perils of fame.
I need to read her new book only because I know she has a total break. Doesn't she have a breakdown in her new book about the...
It's about a woman who's already had a breakdown and is living in like the Irish countryside. It's good. I enjoy her books. There's nothing, but she gave an interview around that time where she was like lamenting, hating being famous. And I was like,
oh, please.
Like, you're a writer. I'm like, you're a writer. I'm like, how many people are coming up to Sally Rooney? Like, I couldn't pick her out of a lineup. Like that's not real. I mean, it is, there's literary fame, obviously, and people do become like literary stars, but I think even at the highest, like as famous as Hao Lin could be, like
Yeah.
he could walk around New York.
Yeah, I mean, how many real authors these days would be even recognized? And I know it's so hard, and trying to sell them books these days is so fucking hard anyway, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think mostly she was speaking like she resents that she has to sort of sell herself to sell her books and maybe like wishes she could be more enigmatic. But I think the fame conversation, I was like, miss me with that one, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not as successful as you, and like people, like, I get recognized like daily.
I really liked.
And you have the privacy of like being a writer, of like working on a book. I'm like,
Yeah, you just have to deal with dust jacket.
yeah, like going on a podcast once a week, you know, giving people the raw transmissions from my life.
I rewatched Softness of Bodies, which I really liked.
Oh wow.
Your gold tooth is such a look.
I really wanted that. I really wanted
sick.
that gold tooth.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. That was something, because I worked very closely with Jordan on the script. And we almost worked with that. I was like, I want to have a gold tooth. And he was like, okay, like, let's figure out how to get someone to like punch you in the face, you know? Like we almost worked backwards.
I tried gold rim. I bought gold rims on eBay just for fun, and it didn't work for me. But I think I need that. But I want to look cool. I don't want to look newly homeless or something. I don't want to look like a Pirates of the Caribbean extra.
Right.
So with the beard, it's either going to go one of two ways. So
it might be a hard one to pull. You might have to get a little diamond or something too, just to signify that it's
yeah, more ASAP Steven, less Pirates of the Caribbean Part 4.
Exactly. You're gonna have to switch your style up, yeah, to accommodate the accessory.
A whole new makeover as well. I don't think I'm ready for
I think you might have to. It might be a bigger commitment than you're ready to make.
You captured shoplifting, being chased by shoplifting so well in that movie.
That scene was shot in the subway from Possession.
Really?
Where a Johnny has her miscarriage.
Whoa.
That's the same Berlin subway stop. Yeah. That was fun. I liked filming that. I love like thrashing around and being restrained. That's always a lot of fun for me.
I shoplifted for like 3 years. When I turned 30, I decided I was going to try shoplifting. I was thinking,
how did it go?
I was great. I was really good. My favorite things were fucking with the self-scan at the supermarket. I was great at that. I'd just scan through cheap items and then walk away with like ribeye steaks and things like that, which I wouldn't scan through but put on the
smart
checkout. And then I love taking books from big department store bookstores, let the record reflect, not indie bookstores. And then the rush was just so exciting. And then I completely was pushing as far as I could go, and I'd take a bunch of coffee table books and then go to the security guard and be like, hey, how's it going? What floor is Stephen King on? 3rd. Okay. And then I'd go back down, buy like a fucking book of stamps or a postcard, and then walk out with everything. But I was pushing it.
Did you get caught?
Hell yes. I got that. That's what reminded me in your Softness of Bodies. I was in do you know the Liberty department store, which is like huge? It's like it's like the Harrods of London, kind of.
Okay.
And I took this big bolt of aftershave, and then I knew thought I was getting followed. And I had that kind of thing in, you know, like in mob movies where they do the one last heist, and you think, the viewer, you're like,
right,
why didn't you stop? You had $500,000 in the bank. Why didn't you give up the mob life? And I was like, I just liked that I was in Liberty, and I really went for it. And then the second I left the store, I got chased and grabbed back inside. But I just said I'm on new meds and I feel really weird and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing.
Oh,
and
that's a good out.
They didn't want anything to do with me.
Wow.
And they were like, "You're sweating," and I was like, because it was weird. It was one of those weird English days where it was like raining in the morning, and by the time I was in department, so it was boiling. So I had a big coat on, so I was really hot anyway. And they're like, "Yeah, you're already sweating," and I'm like, "Yes, the meds. I feel really weird. I'm sorry." And they're like, "Just go, just get out of my shop. I can't."
I had a friend who got caught shoplifting in Japan, actually, which is so, it's so deviant to do any kind of crime in Japan. They almost like don't know how to deal with it. And I think she said something similarly where she was like, because she spoke Japanese a bit because she had lived there for a while, but she was like, "I'm mentally ill." Like, and they were like, "Okay." They like made her sign some statement that said she was mentally ill.
I used to take plants. I used to like taking big fucking plants and stuff, and just really impractical things that were kind of comical or so outrageous you wouldn't believe someone would want to take them. But then
Right.
the next week I was in IKEA with my girlfriend, and I was buying a frame when I was going to send my friend a photo that I took of him, and I was about to take the frame, and I looked at the queue, and it was like 40 people in the queue, and I was like, "Oh, fuck this," and I put the frame down, and the second I walked out, I got chased, and they were like, "Come back," and they were like, "What?" And they're like, "Where's the frame?" And I'm like, "I left it in the store. The queue's too big." And they were like, "Empty your bag," and I was like, "Emptied it," and they were like, "I'm really sorry," and I was like, "Okay, now I'm definitely retired. This
Wow.
is a sign.
Yeah.
This is
That's a
that."
sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to do? Do you have a bigger career plan?
Want to make another movie. Um, it's like starting to come together now, but I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm superstitious. But I'm hoping to shoot my next film in the early part of next year. Um, and then um, yeah, I want to keep acting. I hope that I can that there are roles that are fulfilling for me to play. I'd like to have a family, so I think after my second film, um, I probably won't make one for a while. Um, but that's okay. I don't have that kind of like resolute, uh, fervent drive to like make as many. Some directors really like Schrader. He tries, or Woody Allen, like they're so prolific. They like make a movie a year almost, or try to. Um, I think I am going to really probably take it's going to be a slow burn, my auteur career.
Yeah, that's got both lanes are cool. I like people, like the Kubrick model, where it's just really considered and obsessive and slow. And then I like people who just smash one out a year, good or bad. They're
Yeah,
going to keep them
I
coming.
love a minor work. That's one of my favorite things about Schrader is he is willing to make some, he's just trying stuff. Like I saw him do a Q&A for Card Counter where he was like, I was interested in poker and I was interested in Abu Ghraib. And like
Oh shit!
that's the movie, and I was like, amazing. He just, and they too, like the movie doesn't totally make sense. It's definitely not his best. He is like playing the hits in a lot of ways, but it has interesting things about it. And at the end of the day, I'm just happy he's making something. Maybe as I get older, I'll feel more, it'll feel more pressing to like,
Urgent, yeah.
yeah,
Tiffany Haddish just didn't work for me in that movie. And
no,
then someone said it should have been Pam Grier or someone like that with
mm,
someone older, someone with a bit more grit.
yeah,
And I was like, that would have been perfect. Just
I
a really hot,
know,
cooler older woman who I just didn't believe her being
no,
like a hustler or like a daddy to card dealers and stuff. But someone like
yeah.
Pam Grier, it would almost be like an extension of her kind of the Jackie Brown world that she was so perfect and
And,
brilliant in.
and it felt, yeah, like anachronistic and yeah, just unrealistic. I agree. She was miscast.
You got me into another Schrader movie that I'd never. That wasn't
Hmm.
Comfort of Strangers. You recommended
Oh,
that movie's amazing.
he didn't write the script. That was usually he, is known for his screenwriting, but that was a movie, and that one's interesting because he's directing someone else's material.
Yeah. Was that an Ian McEwan script, or did he do the adaptation of the...
I'm not sure.
I just remember the Christopher Walken monologue was absolutely dark as hell.
I can't, the way he says like Papa, I like can't like get out of my mind. He's great. And that was Schrader really loved Natasha Richardson. Is that her name, the actress?
Yeah.
And I think they had done the Patty Hearst movie, which is also really good if you haven't seen a weird minor Schrader. And I think they would have had like a very fruitful collaboration if she hadn't tragically died. But that movie's, it's very interesting.
What's your favorite Schrader? Hardcore?
I like hardcore. I love hardcore. I like Light Sleeper. American Jig. I mean, there are a lot of them, but Mishima obviously is like the pinnacle of his career, and I am a massive fan
what a
of
soundtrack.
Mishima as well. So that one I guess would be my favorite, but I appreciate so many things about the other ones too.
I think Light Sleeper is my favorite. I think it's almost like the greatest hits, if I can say that, of all the kind of themes of kind of, the loneliness, the isolation, the man in the room. And there's something so haunted about that. And I think that 80s soundtrack just bangs so hard. I had to get on a bidding war on eBay to find a CD copy of that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. I'm glad we finally did this.
Yeah.
We should plug, I guess, October 3rd in the UK, the Scary Blu-ray Fractured Vision special edition comes out. But it's a lot of the same materials that's on the Vinegar Syndrome release, honestly. I think it's just a UK version.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good to see you, buddy.
Okay, thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Boom. That was me and Dasha Nekrasova. The Scary 61st Blu-ray is out now. I have it in my hands. Great extras. Audio commentary. 2 audio commentaries. Q&A. Cast and crew interviews. Collector's booklet. This is a solid disc. Highly recommended. The film is amazing. John Waters meets Roman Polanski remaking Rosemary's Baby via mumblecore. That's my convoluted pitch. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music. Flynn Rodham, my producer, and you guys for listening. We'll speak soon.